The December 20th, 2021 legislative meeting of the Anne Arundel County Council is now in session. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. And as a reminder, masks must be worn in all county buildings. Please pause for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led today by Councilwoman Fiedler.
Thank you. If everyone could please stand. The final invocation of 2021 is bittersweet, as I also take a moment of personal privilege. It is a great responsibility that this body, present, past, and future, has the ability to make an incredible impact on the lives of county residents. When I think back on the legislation of the past 3 years, one moment really stands out to me that demonstrates how closely we touch the daily lives of our residents. I am sure everyone here remembers the Waterman's bill. I know I do. One of the many things that stood out the evening of the public hearing was looking into the audience and seeing Karen Spiegel sitting in the front row with a beautiful silk scarf on her head, stoic and strong, her husband Mike sitting by her side, and their family and community surrounding them. Our council vote that evening protected their business, their family business, for years to come, and I know how important it was to the Spiegel family, their community, and the Waterman industry. It is with great sadness that I share that Karen passed away on Monday, December 6th, surrounded by family. I would like to take a moment of silence to remember Karen Joanne Spiegel, who will be dearly missed by all who knew her. And now I ask that you bow your heads with me and pray in a manner consistent with your individual faith for those who are no longer with us. We pray for those members of our community who have passed in the last year. They are mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, husbands, and wives. Each one called home, their loss is felt by their family, friends, and neighbors, especially during the holiday season. May their loved ones be able to cherish their memories, celebrate their life, and carry their spirit. And bless those departed. May they rest forever in eternal peace. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, please read the ethics statement.
The Ethics Commission has asked that I advise you that under certain circumstances, members of the public may qualify as lobbyists when they testify before the County Council. If so, the law requires that certain information be filed with the Ethics Commission. The Chairman of the Ethics Commission has asked that those who wish to testify in any form review the general information on lobbying sheet located on the Ethics website under Forms and Publications. If there are any questions about lobbying requirements, please contact the Ethics Commission at 410-222-4413.
We will now hear from the Salary Standard Commission. As a reminder, this once every 4 years, per state law, council-appointed commission comes together to make recommendations for changes to council compensation and allowances for the next council. O'Brien Atkinson, Chair, will lead and other members may be present.
This keeps us anonymous.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman Rodvian and members of the County Council. As stated, my name is O'Brien Atkinson, and I am serving as chair of the 2021 Salary Standards Commission. I'm here with our vice chair, Idella Gregory, and fellow members Douglas Nichols, Tyler Patton, and William Krause. Members Fiona Quincy Baribi could not be here. She is actually in Uganda, and Brian Griffiths is not with us this evening. We're pleased to present our final report of our recommendations for future council members elected in November 2022. Over the past several months, our commission conducted research, received information from incumbents, the personnel officer, budget officer, and other county staff. We also reviewed data related to Anne Arundel County's budget, coupled with the review of the compensation and history of our county council members and those county council members of comparable jurisdictions. The ability of our commission to complete our work in a timely and thorough manner is a reflection of the commitment of not only our commission members, but also the county staff who assisted us with coordination, research, and legal opinions. In particular, we'd like to thank Laura Corby, Kaylee Schultz, Susan Klein, Linda Shewitt, and Lori Blair Klausmeyer. Our commission was made up of an eclectic group of representatives with different viewpoints on how our elected officials should be compensated. After our research and deliberations, we were able to come to a near unanimous decision and recommendation. We were in agreement that it has been well established that members of the County Council are not employees in the traditional sense. Council members are not categorized as part-time or full-time county employees. They are elected officials who hold offices of public trust, which is an honor, a duty, and a responsibility of the citizens in our community. In honoring that trust, it was confirmed that council members are regularly called upon to work 40 hours a week, and sometimes more at times. Determining the proper level of compensation and allowances for members of the council is neither a science nor an art. It requires a balance of many factors, and our job was to look objectively at these factors and make a fair and reasonable recommendation to you. Compensation for council members is less today than it was 20 years ago. Prior reductions in benefits and allowances were done without the recommendation or support of our prior Salary Standards Commission members. Cuts were made almost in a game-like fashion at the hands of other county council members to themselves. Demands for constituent services and community outreach have increased dramatically over the years. Despite recommendations to do so, the council did not raise salaries for future council members from 2003 to 2017. Prior county councils actually stripped themselves of benefits worth more than half a current county council member's salary today. These are among the list of things that the council that sets our county council apart from other employees and elected officials. We sincerely hope the council will accept and implement the recommendations of our commission for the next council. A great deal of work went into the formulation of the recommendations, and we remain available to address any questions or concerns that the council may have with regard to these recommendations. In last week's State of the County address, County Executive Stuart Pittman proudly reported that the state of Anne Arundel County is strong, outperforming both the state and county by most measures. He said the financial condition of our county government is more stable and resilient than it has ever been, with new reserves and tax rates lower than any other Central Maryland county. We ask that you consider that in your deliberations. The members of the commission all agreed at the end of the day, you get what you pay for. Our recommendations are incredibly modest and conservative for the next 4 years. We have recommended increasing council member salaries by approximately $1,000 per year, or 2.5% over the next 4 years, based on personal income growth of county residents over the last 4 years. Also bringing the automobile allowance closer in line to the actual expenses of operating a motor vehicle in service to the citizens, and allowing council members, if needed, to participate in the health care programs offered by the county with a 50% premium provided by the county. A detailed summary of our report and our commission's findings have been submitted, and I humbly request your support. If you have any questions or concerns, we are prepared to address them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Atkinson, and members of the commission. Thank you for the time that you put into this. We know it's a lot of work, and it's greatly appreciated. I can see I have Mr. Pruski has a question.
Thank you. Just actually a comment, Mr. Atkinson and everyone, thank you all for serving. It's never an easy decision to serve on this committee because there's a lot of debate either way, so I want to thank you for your service. As the senior member of the council, this is my second one, and thank you again for serving on this. I take your comments not lightly, but truly, that we do need to look at the future and what really holds. I think that history that you provided is important. A lot of people don't realize that is what the council used to have. And not to say that we need to bring all those things back, because I wouldn't support that. I think we need to be fiscally responsible, but also true to what the job is. And I'm glad that you added, because I know each one of the members that I serve with probably put in more than 40 hours a week or more from their service. So thank you again for what you've done. Hopefully with your near unanimous suggestion, I hope my colleagues support your efforts. So thank you again.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Any additional questions? Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Hare, District 7. I just wanted to say thank you. I know this is an enormous amount of work, and you all did a beautiful report that I am looking forward to reading even more fully than the summary you just provided. So thank you so much. I just appreciate all the hard work you guys put in.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your work. Oh, I'm sorry. We've got one more. I got to see the red lights out of the corner of my eyes. Ms. Fiedler.
We need the flags.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to also express my gratitude for the work that you have done and the obvious deep dive that you took in presenting this report to us. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. Mr. Atkinson, either you or anybody on your panel, I had two questions. The first was about the salary. So in looking at the charter, I think the original salary for council members in 1965, 66, somewhere in there, was $2,100. I did an inflation calculation on that and came to about $18,000 a year. It's a little under that. It's like $17,800. Did you all look at something like that to see what the original value of the council salary was in the origination of the charter and then what it's worth today?
We did.
Okay.
It was actually discussed by the council or by the commission for a short time, and I actually thought it was closer to $36,000 when it was presented to us.
Okay.
But
you may have used a different calculator than me.
That's right. We did discuss it. It was definitely part of our
Okay.
deliberations.
Got it. Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just last question. You said it was a near unanimous decision. 6-1 is what I think I saw in your meeting minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Do you want to respond?
No, that's fine.
All right. Any additional questions from my colleagues? Once again, thank you very much for your work and your service in this commission. All right, at this time, we will open our invitation to audience. Madam Secretary, do we have any comments or communications on any subject not included in the printed agenda received from members of the public?
We did not receive any testimony online that would be considered for the invitation to audience portion of the meeting.
All right, we will now invite members of the audience who signed up before the meeting to address the council briefly on any subject matter not included in the printed agenda. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Will the following person please come up to the table, take a seat, and state your name and address for the record? Mr. Stephen Waddy.
Hello, my name is Stephen Waddy. I'm here on behalf of myself. I'm here to speak about the rise in coronavirus cases in Anne Arundel County. I just looked at the county dashboard and I saw that we have 795 deaths from the coronavirus, according to the dashboard. It's a grim number as we close out 2021. I have lost friends and some family members to the coronavirus since the pandemic started. And we don't always know whether or not the people who we've lost due to respiratory illnesses were impacted by the coronavirus before the coronavirus was brought out in March 2020. I'm here to say that my own children have been affected today by the virus outbreak. In Severn Elementary School, I had to go get my daughter, and we went to go to the library, Severn Library, to pick up some tests. And I was the fourth dad in line, and we were able to negotiate. I think the dads before them were able to negotiate to get 2 testing kits, free testing kits, and they were the box was halfway empty. and this was family members. The man in front of me said that the Odenton Library had run out of testing kits, and so to go to the Severn Library. And so just, it's become that immediate for many of us, and I hope that we can take that into consideration. It's really, really an issue that's concerning all of us. I know you all are dealing with it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waddy. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak at this time? You may go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Is this on? Just slightly touch the icon there. Sorry, where? Oh, okay. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. Amy Leahy, I live in Severna Park, Maryland. This past week, the Charter Commission held 2 public hearings on the redistricting maps under consideration that will be presented to the County Council for vote by December 31st. As someone who's pretty informed on the workings of the county government and County Council, I was blindsided by this piece of information. The first meeting was held in person in this chamber, but the second one, 3 nights later, was held virtually. There were only 2 people to testify at the very first meeting. My concerns with this process: there was no publicizing by the County Council, the County Executive, or the County Executive staff on an issue that is of paramount importance to the people of this county. The newspaper never published anything to alert the public. Also, right now is a very busy time of year with people focused on the holidays and family. And lastly, the County Council is insistent that a vote be taken by the end of the year, issuing an arbitrary deadline based on filing deadlines for political candidates at the end of February. Additionally, there were only 2 maps available for viewing on the website, but reference was made to several other maps that apparently were part of previous Charter Commission meetings. During the meeting, a vote was taken to consider a new map suggested by one of the Charter Commission members, showing that the Commission is nowhere near making a decision within the next 10 days on a map to present to the County Council. As a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee for Plan 2040 and feeling pressured by the end of our time allotment to come up with the plan to present to the County Council, this Council introduced hundreds of amendments to the plan before adopting the General Development Plan while under pressure to meet a deadline. Nothing is worth doing if it's not done right. I ask this Council to consider doing the right thing by advertising this important decision for public input and taking the time needed to get the districts right. After all, this decision will impact the county for the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Johnson.
Julie Johnson, P.O. Box 6634, Annapolis, Maryland. I'd like to thank the people who have come to speak tonight. They both brought important information. If you're interested in the latest update on COVID, the Aspen Institute broadcast a very, very interesting program this morning on C-SPAN, which is available on the internet, YouTube, and assorted other places. But I have to get back to my adventures of explaining to you this series of issues and problems. The last meeting, we talked about my being before the district court, and we talked about the issues of due process. The due process consists of notice and the right to be heard, to defend, which includes testimony, exhibits, and so forth, and a fair judge or a fair person who determines the facts and law of the matter. So that was at the beginning of that hearing of January 24th, 2019. Tonight we get to advance to the middle of that meeting because, the judge looked down from his bench and he said, Mrs. Johnson, there's this court down there, and it's about this long. And there are thousands of pages of documents that you filed with a motion for this hearing. And, it takes up a lot of space. And the implication was that they needed the space, in the court facilities. And the implication was that these had all been scanned, and please take them out of our hair. So you want to be courteous and responsive, and so you say, yes, Your Honor, I'll take care of that. Well, the problem is that, of course, this was some of my evidence for the case. And so it turned out that the clerk had not scanned any of them in. Oh, don't tell me that's 2 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. We will be happy to see you again in January.
Well, someday this will finish. And good will see, all the good blessings for one holiday season. Very happy, healthy, safe, peaceful, loving week.
Same to you. All right. Seeing no additional movement in the audience, the invitation to audience is now closed. Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda? All right. May I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill or resolution, or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole?
Councilman Persky, so moved.
Second, Lacey.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the minutes of December 6th, 2021.
The meeting was called to order by Chair Lacey at 7 p.m. and opened with the invocation given by Mr. Prusky, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Cub Scout Troop 209. The meeting was held in the County Council Chambers, Arundel Center, Annapolis, Maryland.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 6th, 2021?
Allison Pickard, so moved.
Second?
Lacey, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The minutes of December 6, 2021 stand approved as read. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of any bills to be introduced this evening.
Bill number 11321, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, adequate public school facilities, school utilization chart. Bill number 11421, an ordinance concerning public works, utilities, charges and assessments, late penalties. Bill number 11521, an ordinance concerning finance, taxation, and budget, real and personal property taxes, late interest, and penalties. Bill number 11621, an ordinance concerning zoning, non-conforming uses, termination. Bill number 11721, an ordinance concerning finance, taxation, and budget, commercial revitalization area program. Bill number 11821, an ordinance concerning Sherwood Forest Special Community Benefit District.
Madam Secretary, please read the titles of any resolutions to be introduced this evening.
Resolution number 6421, a resolution entitled Charter Amendment, Anne Arundel County Veterans Affairs Commission.
May I have a motion to suspend the rules to hear and vote on resolution number 63-21 first this evening?
So moved, Volke.
Second?
Lacey, second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to hear and vote on resolution number 63-21 first this evening.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Prusky.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to suspend the rules and hear and vote on resolution number 6321 first this evening has been adopted.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 63-21.
Resolution number 6321, resolution amending certain reporting deadlines required of the Charter Revision Commission.
Mr. Volke, this is your resolution. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. We have discussed this quite extensively at our work session, but just for the benefit of anybody watching for the first time, the purpose of this resolution is to amend a prior resolution of the Council that appointed the Charter Revision Commission and set a deadline for County Council maps, to be passed by that Charter Commission and then to come to the Council. The deadline that was originally set was December 31st of this year. In having had the opportunity to watch some of the work of the Charter Revision Commission, particularly their second public hearing, there was significant feedback from the community that this process needs to have a little more time, and that trying to pass these maps by the end of the year may be infeasible or unrealistic for the Charter Revision Commission. So with that, the purpose of this resolution is to simply amend that deadline to give the Charter Revision Commission a little breathing room so that they have the opportunity to do their work. If they choose to still have the map done by December 31st, that is certainly their prerogative. There is nothing about this that dictates that the Charter Revision Commission cannot pass a map and send it to the council by the end of the year. That is still within their purview. However, that's the purpose of the resolution. So with that, I'd ask for my colleagues' support.
And this time, we have the chair of the Charter Review Commission, Ms. Andrea Mansfield, and we also have Lori Blair Klassmeyer, who has been working with the commission. Could you, I see Ms. Mansfield, thank you. And I would just like to give you the opportunity to address the council on this matter.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. It's nice to be here this evening. Thank you for this opportunity. This is Andrea Mansfield. I serve as chair of the Charter Revision Commission. I guess I'll provide a little bit of history and kind of bring you up to date as to where we are right now. I think at this point, though, I will say the commission, yes, we did have 2 public hearings last week. At this time, we are moving forward with maps. We did take votes at the meeting last week to remove several maps from consideration, and we do have 3 maps that the Office of Planning and Zoning is working on, and we have a meeting December 28th where those maps will be presented to us. And at this point, I think it is our intention to really finish our work by that deadline. Our first meeting, I think we started the end of October was the first meeting. The second meeting, and we did have the Office of Law share with us kind of options for going forward, and should we find ourselves in a position where maybe we would not have maps in a timely manner to the council. I think we set a goal early on that we wanted to proceed, that we really wanted to complete our work. I think as a group, we're looking at the circumstances, and as you probably know, there are a couple of council districts that have really grown in population over the past 10 years. So we have a few districts where we have 8,000 or 9,000 more individuals living in those districts, and I think, and this is more, I guess, me speaking as well, I find it very important that we actually do our work so we're not just disenfranchising those individuals that live in those jurisdictions, and really kind of diminishing their vote in those circumstances. So at this point, we've charged forward. I will say a couple of our meetings, yes, in order to kind of really grasp the situation and better understand what we needed to do, we did appoint a subcommittee that looked at the maps. Well, first we had the Office of Planning and Zoning. They did 4 iterations for us, which were different variations of a simple adjustment map. Our subcommittee looked at those maps as well as another map that was presented to us by a member of the commission. They did look at those, refine those, and came up with 2 other iterations. We're referring to those as 4B and 6B right now as a part of our work. We discussed 4B and 6B at length, and we also discussed another simple adjustment map, map number 2, as a part of our deliberations last Thursday evening, and that was based on the public comments that we received. Yes, we did hear from the public. I think overall we had maybe 27 individuals that came to us and speak between the 2 evenings, the 2 individuals for our in-person meeting as well as those that spoke virtually with us last Thursday. I think we probably had, I think it was about half and half. We did have some members testify that yes, they would like to see a little more time, but we also had members testify that they really wanted us to move forward. We had members, individuals talk about map 2. We had others offer their support for maps 4B and 6B. So after that public meeting, we did then, as I said, deliberate over the maps. We did decide to add map 2 back into our discussions based on the comments as well as some of our discussions as commission members. And we also talked about further refinements to 4B and 6B. So at this point, the Office of Planning and Zoning, they are making those revisions to us to get to us. And we plan to have a meeting at 10 o'clock on December 28th to discuss those 3 maps. And at that point in time, determine which maps we're going to present to the council for your consideration. So, thank you. I'll be happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mansfield, for that explanation and for your work. Councilman Pruski.
Thank you, Councilman Andrew Pruski. Ms. Mansfield, thank you and the commission for the work that you do. This is actually for Ms. Klossmeyer. How many years you been with the county?
Lori Blair Klassmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. It was 21 years in July.
Well, thank you for your service. I appreciate that. But I'm getting to a question.
I'm getting old.
I know you've not always dealt with the committee because you've been in various positions, you know what I mean, in the office. Mm-hmm. But to get history correct here, it's my understanding that every council, okay, in a bipartisan manner, has found a way to meet the deadlines to get a map together. Am I correct in saying that?
Prior councils, I mean, yes, in the sense of they've been ready for the next election after their appointment of the commission. The issue this year is one that relates to when the information was provided. So normally, this happens every 10 years, so you're either smack dab in the middle of an election cycle or you are coming right after an election. So this year, because the census data came so late, we've never had this situation where we've been so tight up against the election deadlines.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Mansfield, for being here, and Ms. Klossmeyer. I know this has been very difficult work that the Commission has engaged in, but what I'm hearing from you representing the Commission is that the Commission has not voted or come to a consensus, and they are not currently asking this council for an extension.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So watching the meetings that have taken place thus far, specifically the most recent one, the members of the public, I think there were some who wanted the commission to press forward, but the overwhelming majority of public testimony that I heard was that it's going too fast, or there's been challenges in getting information, or they just were not paying attention because of the holiday season and didn't realize what was going on. So would there be any reason to prevent the commission from holding an additional meeting in the future, or are we tied to just two? I guess maybe Ms. Lori Blair Klassmeyer.
Sure. Lori Blair Klassmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. There's no guidance legally on how many public meetings, well, they're all public under the Open Meetings Act, but in other words, taking public testimony, there's no limit or requirement.
Okay. Madam Chair, may I?
Go ahead.
And one other note, and then I'll yield to my colleague. I did note in the last commission meeting that there were several comments from different members of the commission that referenced the deadline in the resolution from the council being kind of the impetus or the driver for meeting that goal. So I just want to make a note of that I did recognize that.
Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Hare, District 7. I just wanted to ask, because I believe Councilwoman Pickard just said, have you ever taken a vote on a particular, requesting an extension? I do believe it was discussed at one of the recent meetings, and in the meeting minutes, I count at least 4 members who have specifically stated their support for an extension. Is that accurate?
I guess I don't recall 4 members. I know we had the conversation about it, and I know I expressed that, if it would, I think it should be put upon the commission if we feel we need more time. But I'm not aware of, I don't recall 4 members speaking in the affirmative on that. So we haven't had we haven't had the discussion and formally made a motion to move forward with that action.
Okay,
No.
so I'm looking at the December 1st, 2021 meeting minutes, and actually, I believe you may not have been at that meeting, but I'm looking at the meeting minutes for the time frame discussion, and I see at least 4 members who say they support an extension. I'm not sure if anyone else has seen that, but in terms of formally taking a vote or not, I do count at least 4 members in the meeting minutes who've equivocally made that statement. So did you have a follow-up on that otherwise?
I was not at that. I was not able to make that meeting. I was out of town, but from what I recall, it was my understanding from that meeting, at least in a couple of the members that I talked with afterwards, they were under the impression that they stated that they did not want to request an extension at that time. So I haven't I don't know, I haven't talked with all of them specifically about that meeting and what was discussed there, but it was my understanding that there was no resolution on that issue and there was no consensus to request the extension.
Okay. I have one other question, but
Go ahead.
It's for planning and zoning.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not sure, Mr. Kaiser, maybe this is a question for you, but I'm trying to understand with the maps that have been presented and the ones that have been discussed, it's my understanding from looking at some of the meetings and watching some of the meeting minutes that a lot of adjustments are still being made. Even when there's a map presented, there's a lot of movement of parts that are still ongoing no matter what. And I guess I'm trying to get an understanding from planning and zoning how much effort each one of those maps is taking for you and how much longer each one of those maps will take to make sure lines are presentable, so to speak.
So Steve Kaiser, Planning and Zoning Officer, I would say the degree of difficulty for any changes in the map is based on the discussion that the Commission has, and if you've gone back and looked at some of the meetings, they can be fairly complicated discussions, but I would say that we've learned how to use the software quicker and more efficiently than we knew how to do in the beginning, and my perspective is the group has made significant progress, and we're kind of in the end stages of producing maps for the Commission. That would be my perspective. So I think they're closer to the finish than closer to the beginning.
Okay, closer to the finish than closer to the beginning. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So I'm going to read an email conversation that I had with Ms. Blair Klassmeyer to make another point. We got information from the Board of Elections that without further detail, they estimate it would take 30 days from the time that they get a map from this council that is passed until it returns to the council and is final. So I wrote to Ms. Blair Klassmeyer that in the earliest case scenario, the commission votes on a map, sends it to the council at the next meeting. I said December 28th being their next meeting. One or more council members could request a map or maps to be introduced in legislative form at our January 3rd meeting. The legislation would then need to be advertised. A public hearing would then be on February 7th. If there are no amendments and the map passes, the map then goes to the Board of Elections on February 8th at the absolute earliest. And based on that information from the Board of Elections, the earliest we could anticipate the board implementing new maps is the first week in March, give or take. And I know, Ms. Klassmeyer, you had some minute details that could alter that, but essentially 14 days is probably the turnaround time that this Board of Elections would have to make, which they indicated that is nearly impossible.
Lori Blair, Klassmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. Yes, they're the ones that said 30 days. The 14 days is the February 8th to the February 22nd, which is the filing deadline. So really they would have less than 14 days if they wanted to have to give fair notice to people who wanted to file. They indicated that they're, that's an estimate on their part, and it depends on the complexity of the map that's ultimately presented to them and whether they even have the ability to expedite a map. That's depending on what's going on with them. So, but their 30 days was their estimate. That's correct.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may. Go ahead. Just want to follow up with a statement. I am worried that we are going to hurry up and wait, that we will rush to meet a deadline of December 31st when the overwhelming majority of the public feels like right now is not the time to do it. Knowing that it's outside of the commission's, it's not your problem, right? It's not your fault that we're here, right? We had a delayed census. We had a delay in appointing. It's no one's fault. It is what it is. But if we're rushing to meet the deadline when we know there's little to no chance that the Board of Elections could return the maps in time for the filing deadline, I feel that the only fallout from this is that we're eliminating the public's testimony, overwhelming testimony. that this is not the right time and they need another go at a public hearing. And we need to put the information out there more when we're not in the middle of the holiday season. So that's my concern, and that's why I intend to support this resolution this evening, and just want to make that statement for the record. Thank you.
I'm going to jump in here with a question, and this could be addressed to multiple people. During the open testimony earlier, it was suggested that the meetings and the opportunity for testimony had not been presented to the public. I know for a fact that on my Facebook page, which has about 1,100 followers, it was posted at least once, and I'm sure that it was posted in other places as well. I'm wondering if someone from our staff could relay what was posted or what was shared and what manner was advertised for the council. Was it advertised by the county executive in other formats?
So, Madam Chair, I would be happy to answer your question to the extent that I helped get the notice out. So there is no requirement that we do legal advertising like we do when we advertise public hearings for bills. In other words, we don't typically place an ad in the newspaper for this particular hearing. However, we have found other tools that actually work better that we have used. We sent a press release out that went to most people in the county that would want to see that. Also went to multiple news media outlets. I think the list was 6 or 7 different radio, TV news station type outlets, and Capitol and the Baltimore Sun. So they were able to pick it up and include it in their stories if they wanted to. It was also posted online on our website, and the information about the meetings is posted on the council website, on the council webpage. It's been posted pretty well ahead of time, too, the whole scheduling calendar. So I think that's the best answer I can give you. Is that helpful?
That's very helpful. Thank you, Ms. Corby. If there's anyone else in the room, yes, Ms. Schuett.
Thank you. Linda Schuett, Legislative Council. I have a question for Ms. Blair.
You need a mic.
All of us know that resolutions are not law, so what would the consequence be of the commission deciding at the meeting? That thing. All right. Does that mean I should start over? I should start over. Hi, Linda Schuett, Legislative Council. We all know that resolutions are not law, so my question is, if for some reason the commission did not decide on the maps at its upcoming meeting, but did so sometime after the end of December, would there be a consequence to that?
Lori Blair-Klassmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. I don't think so in the sense of invalidity or anything like that. No, I mean, it wouldn't in any way invalidate what the commission ultimately does.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ms. Schuett. Let's see. I think Mr. Volke was next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. Ms. Mansfield, was there a vote by the commission to move forward with the maps by the 31st? I'm just trying to understand, when you're here sort of speaking in your capacity as chair, was there a motion or some kind of vote by the commission, or is this more of a sense based on discussion similar to the discussion Councilwoman Harrod mentioned at the beginning of December?
We did not vote at our last meeting to actually vote on the maps on December 28th. What we did vote on, we voted to remove some of the maps from consideration because we knew they just were not maps that the commission members wanted to continue to consider. We voted to include Simple Adjustment Map 2 into the consideration, and that's what Office of Planning and Zoning is working on that now. We discussed tweaks to Map 4B and some tweaks to Map 6B, and those tweaks are also being worked on by the Office of Planning and Zoning. It was more a consensus discussion that we had, and with the, I would say, comments being made that, the intentions would be we would have these maps for consideration for our meeting on December 28th, and we would take a vote at that time.
May I ask a follow-up, Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Nathan Volke, District 3 again. So with that being said, without there being a vote or anything like that, and you're here presenting that it's the consensus more or less of your commission to move forward, I guess what I want to understand is, what is the purpose? What's the reason then that your commission feels an impetus to move forward by the 31st based on that discussion? Is the impetus that you think these maps should be done in a fashion so that they can be instituted for the 2022 election? excuse me, or is it that you feel some mandate to get these done within the time frame put on you by the council originally with Resolution 50-21? What's the purpose? Why is it that you all feel this compunction to move forward before the end of the year?
Honestly, I'd say it's probably a combination. I mean, I think we have a resolution, and we do want to meet the intentions that have been expressed by the council. But I think there are some of us, and yes, there are some members that would say they feel that maybe we need more time. But I think there's also other members that we feel that because of the growth in population in certain jurisdictions, that it's really, it's incumbent upon us to take a look at that and try to balance those things out. It's important, I think some of us feel that, to have balanced representation and, and ensure that everyone's vote counts. And if we have some jurisdictions that have 8,000 or 9,000 more people than some others, we're in effect, we're disenfranchising those individuals. So I think it's a combination of the two that where some feel strongly they want to move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Mansfield. I'm not sure who is next, so Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Allison Pickard, District 2. The County Council appointed the individual serving on the Charter Review Commission, and they have the task of bringing forward maps 1, 2, 3, 4 for the council's consideration and vote, which will also incur public hearings when it is time. They also then have an entire charter to review in their year of service. So I feel that it's important that we let the commission do their work, and if they are asking for an extension, there's time for them to do that. This council imposing other thoughts into their work, I don't understand why we can't just let them do their work and speak as a body back to us as we've asked them to. So I don't particularly support this amendment tonight, or this resolution tonight, fully understanding that from their meeting on the 28th or subsequent meetings after that, they might not make a deadline and we might be extending things. But they have spoken and they seem to want to try to do the work. And until they tell us otherwise, I think we should allow them to do their work. I'm not supporting this resolution tonight. Thank you.
And Ms. Lacey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Klausmeyer, when you were speaking with the Board of Elections, did you happen to talk about whether they will be able to meet the deadlines for the actual primary as opposed to the filing deadline of February 22nd?
Lori Blair Klausmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. The communication with the Board of Elections was through Ms. Corby, but the primary itself was not discussed that I saw, unless she has done that separately.
So I'm going to speculate, but my speculation is they'll be able to meet whatever deadlines they need to meet for the actual primary, where when we get to early voting, when we get to mailing out ballots, all of that this redistricting work isn't going to impact their ability to get that done on time. I think between the resources that they already have and our resources with OPZ and being, super knowledgeable with the data, I think they're going to make that deadline. So I will just say, I guess, to my colleagues that I'm less concerned about the filing deadline per se and whether the Board of Elections can meet that, whether they have 14 days or they need 30 days to meet it, because anyone who's going to be running for one of these offices will be paying attention. And they will be on notice, and they can get access to all the information that they would need to determine whether or not they would be in the correct district. Now, that might mean there's some administrative issue at the Board of Elections, but their job is also to be able to determine, whether and how a candidate can be qualified to file for an office. And I think they would be able to do that. So I also dispute, I just don't believe it's true that the overwhelming majority of the citizens of our county are super concerned about what the Charter Revision Commission does by the end of this year. As I said in our work session, the Charter Revision Commission is a body that we composed, we appointed, and their purpose is to advise us on things that we then vote on. And so really what we're doing here is taking up a lot of their time and attention rather than letting them get to their work. They've decided that the goal that they can meet is reapportionment, which we know is very important. We have the data. I also take issue that it was no one's fault that we didn't have the data sooner, but in any event, we do have time to meet that deadline now. The Commission is not formally requesting us to move the deadline simply because of the reapportionment issue, and there's no reason they can't return to the other issues if they would like of potentially doing more major changes to redistricting at some point later in their year of service, as Councilwoman Pickard called it. So I think for the limited purpose of what they're trying to accomplish right now, they have plenty of time, and we have just enough time to be able to, we have no wiggle room at all, but we will still have a public hearing. The maps will still be out there, and we'll have to make our decisions with 5 votes or not on whether 2022 is going to reflect a better apportionment of our voters across the entire county. And I think with that, I'll hold my other comments.
Thank you, Ms. Lacey. If my colleagues wouldn't mind, I'd very much like to go on to the public testimony and ask you to hold your comments until we come back and have one last chance for council folk. So at this time, Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
Yes, Madam Chair. We did receive one submission of testimony through the online testimony tool that was shared with the entire council. It's been posted online and added to the record.
Thank you, and I realize that I actually need to officially open the public hearing on resolution number 2, or resolution number 63-21, and that was the part of it, the part that we received in writing. We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Will the following people please come up to the table and state your name and address for the record? And I have again Mr. Stephen Waddy.
Hello, council members. My name is Stephen Waddy. I live at 7968 Heather Miss Drive. I am a member of the Charter Revision Commission, and I just wanted to support Chairwoman Mansfield's statement to you all in opposition to the resolution, and that's my statement for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waddy. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on this matter? And I see Ms. Johnson coming down.
Julie Johnson, P.O. Box 6634, Annapolis, Maryland. I am not an attorney, but I did learn a legal term, nunc pro tunc. Is that correct, Ms. Lacey? Yeah, she corrected me before when I got it garbled. But the concept of this is when something should have been done and it didn't get done, well, you got to do it, so get it done now. And so I appreciate people's efforts to be timely and to adhere to the laws and the rules and the everything else. But sometimes, and I think this has been a year of so many things being, out of everybody's control, that this would certainly be a place where the majority of reasonable people would say, getting the job done correctly and well takes priority. And as a person who would normally be interested and would normally be attending these kinds of hearings, I missed it. And so, and I don't count. I mean, there are not millions of others in Anne Arundel County, but there are other folks who probably also missed it. And at least it would be good if somehow we could get the word out to more folks, in my opinion. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Is there anyone else in the audience? All right, seeing no movement, the public hearing on resolution number 63-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 63-21.
Resolution number 6321, resolution amending certain reporting deadlines required of the Charter Revision Commission.
And I imagine there is further discussion since we held off. Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Hare, District 7. First off, to Ms. to Ms. Mansfield as the chairwoman, on behalf of the entire commission, thank you for the work that you all are putting into this. I know that it's a lot of work and it's very time consuming, and I appreciate all the effort that you all are putting into it. It does sound like from your statements a few minutes ago that one of the two reasons that you all are working so hard against this December 31st date is because of that initial resolution that came out of the council. And given the unique circumstances of the timing of the data, and given the understanding of what I'm seeing in the meeting minutes, and knowing that you all can work at whatever pace you're all comfortable working at, I'm going to support this resolution. I think giving you all additional time in this instance is helpful. Take it or don't, use it or don't, but I do think that it's important that the Charter Review Commission understands that this council is not saying you must get it done by tomorrow night. We want to make sure that it's good, you're comfortable with it, you really feel strongly about the recommendations that you all are giving. So I actually agree with many of the statements that my colleagues have put out about you all doing your work, but for me that means an opposite vote on this. That means I'm going to support this resolution so that you all, we take away one aspect of what maybe is causing some anxiety on the Charter Revision Commission from what I can see in these meeting minutes. So for that reason, I'm going to support the resolution.
Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is a question probably for Mr. Kai Ziegler because you're sort of the data expert. So if I can ask you to come up here. I'm sympathetic to the concerns that some of my colleagues have expressed about districts that are out of proportion. So I am curious because I know that this county executive, one of the things that he ran on was stopping the rate of growth in this county. So since the 2018 election, what's been the rate of growth? Or asked a different way, were these districts all in perfect balance in the 2018 or even the 2014 election vis-a-vis one another? Were they all equally constituted at that time, if you have that data or information? I'm just curious.
Sure.
Steve, the numbers and the growth.
Steve Ziegler, Planning and Zoning Officer. The time period you went back to was 2018?
Well, I said 2018 or 14 because obviously the last round of census was 2010. So then that was the last time we counted people. We've had multiple elections since then, with the last iteration of maps being 2014.
Sure. So there'll be a two-part response. One is we have not done the assessment like going back year by year as to how each of the councilmanic districts are made up in terms of population growth or decline. So we would have to do that assessment. And the second part of, you had another question, I'm sorry, please refresh my memory.
It's about the growth rate. So obviously,
the growth rate
slowed.
Really, the growth rate for Anne Arundel County over the last 10 years is less than 1%. It's about 0.07%. So I know we all have different views on how much growth is too much or too little, but my perspective as a planner is that's a pretty slow rate of growth.
I guess what I'm getting at, if I could just ask you a quick follow-up, is in 2018, when this body was elected, knowing the growth rate, knowing how the county grew from 2014 to 2018 and then 2018 to 2022 with that growth rate, at the time we all were elected in 2018, were these districts in perfect balance? Did we all represent the same number of people at that time?
So that's what I'm trying to say is we didn't do an assessment in that would address the question you're asking. We would have to go back and look at it on a year-by-year basis to see what the increase or decline in each of the election districts were based on increases in growth or decreases. So that assessment hasn't been done.
Okay. I guess my question is, in the last 3 years, have we seen 8,000 additional people go into District 1 or District 4?
No.
Okay.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So I do want to thank staff for making every effort to get information about the meetings out there and the maps. I know that there are things that are beyond staff's control when it comes to press reporting. I know the Annapolis City redistricting efforts were an above the fold front page article in the Capitol Gazette, and we have not gotten that much information. And obviously, Mr. Kai Ziegler, that's not your doing either, but I do want to recognize our staff is doing and making every effort possible to get the information out there. I just want to clarify for the resolution language does not prohibit the commission from still reaching the December 31st deadline. It merely extends the will of the council, and I think it's important to note that several council members here tonight have said that they may not make the deadline and then would need to request an extension. I feel like this resolution takes that need to come back to us out of the equation, but still gives flexibility to the commission to still make the December 31st deadline if that's what the commission ends up doing. And there's nothing in this resolution that I can see that hinders the work of the commission or doesn't let the commission do the work. Am I missing anything? Perhaps this is a question for the sponsor or Ms. Blair-Klassmeyer. I know.
You didn't miss anything.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Allison Pickard, District 2. The council is going to have an opportunity to debate and create maps for this county, and at that time we can have all the public hearings we want. But right now, again, the commission has not asked for an extension, and if and when they do, it may or may not be April. So I just want to let the commission do their work and speak as a body. I'm going to say it one more time, and now I'm ready to call the question.
All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on resolution number 63-21.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Lacey.
Nay.
Ms. Pickard.
Nay.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
No.
Ms. Rodvian.
Nay.
3 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. Resolution number 6321 has failed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 96-21 as amended.
Bill number 9621, an ordinance concerning Cedarhurst on the Bay Shore Erosion Control District.
Let's see, this is admin's bill. So Mr. Barron from the administration, you may have the floor, as well as your colleagues that are headed down your way.
Cool. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the County Council. Pete Barron with the administration. Joining me at the table is Ms. Lori Blair-Klausmeyer, and rushing up is our budget officer, Mr. Trumbauer. As you will recall, we discussed this legislation at the last meeting, had to do a technical but not technical amendment related to the name of the bank. This Bill 9621 refinances a loan to the Cedarhurst Shore Erosion Control District. The refinanced loan would provide the community with a lower interest rate over a 6-year term. We ask you pass the bill this evening.
Are there any questions from my colleagues? We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 96-21 as amended. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any online submissions of testimony on this bill.
We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. We had no one signed up in advance, so if there is anyone here who wishes to speak on this legislation, please come up to the table and state your name and address for the record. Come on down.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for having me. My name is Skip Miano, 1193 Cedar Avenue, Cedarhurst on the Bay, Shadyside, Maryland. I appreciate you all going to approve the loan. It's a big asset to us. We're going to save the Cedarhurst taxpayers a lot of money now that the loan's been refinanced. I have a question for you. Now that we have the loan approved, my question is, I would like to know if there's to whom I can speak with to try to pay this loan down even quicker, if we can make additional payments to this loan.
We can't answer questions during public testimony, so I would suggest maybe there's a member of the administration that you might be able to reach out to.
Who would that person B?
This guy.
Okay, this guy. And this guy's name is?
Hey, sir. Pete Barron with the administration. Your budget representative, I'll give you my information after this meeting, and we will get you in contact with the budget office. In order to change it, you would probably need to go through some issues with the board at the Cedarhurst Shore Erosion Control District. You will have to approve the agreement. You will then have to submit a budget to us, and we could consider things like that.
Okay. From my understanding, this loan is also in conjunction with part of the DMI.
It would also, sorry, sir, it would also be governed by the terms of the loan, if the term of the loan allow such a repayment.
Well, the term of the loan.
Sir, I have to ask that we return to testimony on this legislation. If you need to have a discussion with administration, I think Mr. Barron is willing to
we'd be happy to do it
at a later
We
time.
can do that so you can move on.
Thank you very much.
And have a happy holiday.
Same to you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. All right. Anyone else wish to testify on this legislation? Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 96-21 as amended.
Bill number 9621, an ordinance concerning Cedarhurst on the Bay Shore Erosion Control District.
Is there any further discussion from my colleagues? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 96-21 as amended.
Madam Chair, Council, one quick note. The order of the votes was incorrect the first couple of times here, so I am going to return to what it should be this evening. My apologies for that oversight.
Thank you.
Ms. Lacey.
Okay, I thought that was the case. And now I have to reorder my mind a second. Okay, aye on this one.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
I'm going to vote aye. And also, sir, gentlemen in the back, if for any reason you have trouble connecting with anyone, please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to facilitate connecting you to the right person in the county. Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill number 9621 is passed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please read the title of Bill number 97-21 as amended.
Bill number 9721, an ordinance concerning personnel, benefits, annual leave, personal leave days.
And this is another admin bill. Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. Pete Barron with the administration. Joining me is Ms. Badowski from Personnel, Mr. Trumbauer from Budget, and Ms. Lori Blair-Klassmeyer from the Office of Law. This bill was previously heard on 12/6. As you'll recall, Bill 9721 allows additional flexibility for our employees to use their leave. This bill does not create new leave, only allows our employees a little extra time to use the leave that they've earned. We have the details here. If you have any questions, the experts at the table would be happy to answer it. Hope you will move the bill tonight.
Are there any? Oh, Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. Mr. Barron, I guess this is a logistical question that I got from a county employee. And you may not know this, but some of your experts may. If this bill passes and the county executive signs it the same day, because it's not an emergency bill, it's not going to take effect for 45 days, which will be after this first pay period timeline. So how is this going to work in terms of people in the county actually using their leave when the bill hasn't taken effect yet? Is it going to be sort of backdated? How are you all going to handle that just logistically in terms of that situation?
I'll let the experts handle the logistics, but I'm sure they got it figured out.
Cool.
Lori Blair-Klassmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. There is a retroactivity provision that it's retroactive to the last day of the last pay period, calendar year, and I'm assuming that Ms. Badowski's staff knows how to do that. I think they did it last year, and I'm sure they can figure out how to do that.
Okay, so ultimately, county employees should just use their time even into the first pay period, and you all will correct it. Personnel will fix that issue. Got it. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
All right, seeing no additional questions from my colleagues, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 97-21 as amended. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any submissions online.
All right, we will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. We did not have anyone signed up, but if there's anyone here who wishes to testify on this bill, please come down. Seeing no movement in the audience, the public hearing on Bill number 97-21 as amended is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 97-21 as amended.
Bill number 9721, an ordinance concerning personnel, benefits, annual leave, personal leave days.
Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 97-21 as amended.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill number 9721 is passed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please read the please read the title of Bill number 98-21 as amended.
Bill number 9821, an ordinance concerning boards, commissions, and similar bodies, Human Relations Commission, student member.
And yet again, we have an admin bill. Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joined at the table by Ms. Smith, our Human Relations and Equal Opportunity Officer, and Ms. Lori Blair-Klausmeyer from the Office of Law. This is another bill that was discussed at the previous meeting. It was amended to tweak and allow a designee from ACDS to be appointed. This bill, as amended, makes the student member of the HRC a voting member. The change comes at the recommendation of the commission, and as we mentioned at the last meeting, it also adds the director of ACDS or their designee. That is bringing the total number of membership up to 13, which will allow it to not have ties. We won't have an even number of commissioners. We ask you to move the bill this evening.
Are there any questions from my colleagues? Oh, I saw Ms. Hare first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Hare, District 7. Thinking back, the Human Relations Commission has the authority to levy fines, correct?
Ms. Blair-Klausmeyer can correct,
sure,
but
sure.
yes.
Okay, up to $10,000, I think, right?
Lori Blair-Klausmeyer. Yeah, they adjudicate complaints. I'd have to go back and look. I think they do have some authority to impose fines through that adjudication.
Asha Smith, they do, and it's for fair housing complaints. Yes.
Okay. The reason I ask is I do struggle a little bit with the idea of a student member who could be as young as potentially, I think, 13, being able to levy a fine, or be the tiebreaker, so to speak, on a fine of that magnitude. And so I'm just wondering if, from the administration's perspective, if that was considered.
When the request came in from the commission, we did look it over. The administration is confident that the young person who is placed on this commission will be capable of the job.
Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How many ties has the Human Relations Commission experienced?
Ms. Smith?
I can tell you that we had one last month over a very minor issue of who should receive a humanitarian award. And so there was a tie about that, but in my brief experience, there have not been very many.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Allison Pickard, District 2. As a proud former member of the Anne Arundel County School Board, I think it's timely to remind this body and the public that we have had a student member of the Board of Education with full voting rights for, I think, something like 50 years in Anne Arundel County, and they vote on a lot heftier issues than a $10,000 fine, and often the student member of the board is the adult in the room. I am proud to vote for this bill. I respect the ideals and vision and opinions of our youth, and I think if they're the tie vote, I'm sure it'll be a great vote. Thanks.
All right. Oh, go ahead, Mr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilman Andrew Pruski. I also want to reiterate that the public had the idea through a charter amendment, which is council passed, that they fully supported the Human Relations Commission. And I think if we were to put whether you had a student member on the ballot, I think it would pass as well, just in my opinion. So I think this is a great resolution, and I thank the administration, certainly the commission, for bringing this forward. Thank you.
All right, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 98-21 as amended. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
Yes, Madam Chair. There was one submission through the online testimony tool that has been shared with the entire council. It has been posted online and has been added to the record.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do we have any excuse me. I'm sorry. We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. And we do have 2 people signed up. Will the following people please come up to the table, state your name and address for the record. And I don't know if it's Tara or Tara, but Tara or Tara Kim and Connor Curran. Ms. Kim.
I'd like to prompt Connor Curran to speak before me, please.
Mr. Curran.
Good evening, Chairwoman Rodvian, Vice Chairman Pruski, and members of the County Council. For the record, Connor Curran, Chair, Anne Arundel County Youth Advisory Council. I encourage the Council to pass Bill 9821. This piece of legislation is a crucial precedent for youth voices in Anne Arundel County. How can we be fighting discrimination in our community when the committee tasked to do so limits the voices of youth? Anne Arundel County has always been the home of student voice, with a fully voting student member of the Board of Education, which, may I remind you, over half of the county's budget goes towards. This will open up more opportunities for young people to be engaged in county government. That was the purpose for our council's creation, along with the Youth Corps. Creating a more civically engaged population will only benefit our county. We need young leaders to take action and see that county government values their perspectives and sees a bright future for them. In my time in student leadership in this county, having a partnership with the school system that was supportive of my peers and I, speaking up for change has had a strong and influential impact on my life. Tonight, this body has an opportunity to directly give students more influence within county government. The Human Relations Commission is tasked with promoting the fair and equal treatment of all Anne Arundel County residents. Having the student perspective recognized in this important work is essential for eliminating opportunity gaps in our great county. Tara Kim would be the first individual to have these voting rights. Ms. Kim is more than capable of setting the stage for a student voting member on the Human Relations Commission, and if this legislation is passed, would bring the perspectives of young people in this county to the commission with voting power. This will send the message to our county that we are open-minded and we want youth engaged in our government. This message is essential for the Youth Advisory Council. In conclusion, let me leave you with this. Think about the impact young people can have in this county if you give them the opportunity to have a stake in the decisions that affect our community as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Curran. Ms. Kim.
Hello, Chairwoman Rodvian and Vice Chair Pruski. My name is Tara Kim. I'm a senior at Chesapeake High School, and I reside in Pasadena, Maryland. I'm speaking to you as a member of the Anne Arundel County community, a member of the youth, and your current non-voting member of the Human Relations Commission. When I was first given the opportunity to serve on the commission, I was extremely ecstatic. Hearing the word commissioner before my name when I was addressed to was exciting. But I wasn't put on the commission for no reason. I was elected and recommended by my fellow members in Crask, those who saw a passion in me. It's why I believe appointed positions are so important. Now, I see all the council members are present tonight, and you sit on the chair as the loudest voice in the room. Why is that? You argue it's the microphone you have, maybe it's how tall your chairs are. But to me, it's the passion you've evoked in your position. Your job and your position comes with responsibility and, most importantly, passion. It's dedication and hard work. However, for having loud passions, I cannot stand to be the quietest person in the room. With the support of my peers, I am extremely grateful to be given this position. However, without the right to vote, I am no longer human. I am not a voice, but an empty idea with no right to exercise it. Right to vote allows for my pursuit of passion, to lead my peers and pave a way for the countless leaders that follow in my footsteps. Leadership is communicating to a person their worth and potential so clearly they are inspired to see it in themselves. I hope to act as a leader for students of Anne Arundel County, to follow in the footsteps of our voting student members of the board, our student council chairs, and those that look for the best in others. I hope you all see the best in me. I hope to see the passion behind my intentions and my plea for this bill to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Any additional comments or questions from my colleagues? The panel is dismissed.
Madam Chair?
Yes, and I will offer, if there's anyone else here who wishes to speak, you may come down to the table.
I just wanted to say I vote for Ms. Kim.
After that, it's hard not to. All right, seeing no, oh no, they're coming back as the panelists. All right, seeing no one else moving to come and testify, the public hearing on Bill number 98-21 as amended is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 98-21 as amended.
Bill number 9821, an ordinance concerning boards, commissions, and similar bodies, Human Relations Commission student member.
Is there any further discussion from my colleagues? I will, go ahead, Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Hare, District 7. I would just want to thank both of you for your testimony because it was very persuasive and actually alleviated a number of my concerns that I raised at the beginning of the bill. So thank you very much for sharing your evening with us.
All right, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege. In my day job as a public school teacher, I am very aware that discrimination is a very serious issue among our youth. And I think hearing the voices of youth about the topic is really critical to the conversation about discrimination and the work of the Human Relations Commission. I've, over the years, had students who have come to me and explained how they've been discriminated based on their race. People of color, possibly on their national origin. I've had students who have come and spoken to me about, being teased or bothered because they are LGBTQ plus, or they they maybe have a different gender identity than their peers. And so I think this is an issue that's very present in our community amongst youth, whether it's in our schools or in other settings online. And so I think a youth voice is very important to figuring out where this is starting and to do our best to root it out so everyone can feel safe and have their rights respected here in Anne Arundel County. And I will most definitely be voting for this piece of legislation. Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. Just want to shout out Ms. Kim doing a great job. Way to go to a fellow Cougar. With that, I expect to support this bill as well. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments from my colleagues, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 98-21 as amended.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill number 9821 is passed.
Once again, thank you, Madam Secretary. Please read the title of Bill number 99-21.
Bill number 9921, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, site development exemptions.
All right, Mr. Volke, this is your bill. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. Just want to start off by thanking the administration for their collaboration on this bill. We have worked quite a bit. I gave some history on this and talked about the background for this bill at the work session. Just briefly, it came out of a discussion with a business owner in my district. There are significant amounts of what I'll just refer to as red tape for relatively minor additions or changes to property, and I believe that this bill will work to address some of those things in a targeted way, but also in a limited way. With that, I do have 2 amendments that we'll be moving forward with this evening, and then after that, there were some other amendments that were circulated, but I'll not be moving forward with those this evening because I've had some discussions with the administration, and we are going to continue to work on those, probably to bring back those amendments at the next meeting. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions, certainly open to hearing the administration, but at the right time, I will ask the council to adopt these amendments.
All right, and Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank the sponsor for as you mentioned, a lot of ongoing discussions on this issue. I introduce my illustrious panel real quick. I have Ms. Lori Rhodes, our Deputy CAO for Land Use, our IMP Director, Mr. Wiedermeyer, our OPZ Director, Mr. Kai Ziegler, Ms. Lynn Miller from OPZ, and Ms. Kelly Kenny from the Office of Law. The discussion that was had at the work session, I think, is important. The administration echoes, I think, the comments from the sponsor that we have some work still to go to get this right. The administration also has an amendment as we're trying to navigate this issue of how to accurately or maybe accurately is not the right word, effectively process these exemptions. So in that spirit of trying to get it right, not trying to waste and create a bunch of extra work for everybody, we would also pause on our amendment as we try to work through and get to a compromise agreement that works for both the process that the administration and OPZ and IMP really have to put in place and work through every day, as well as what the community members need when they have a situation that a little less red tape would be helpful. I think we can all agree on that. So with that, spoiler alert, the administration will be supporting the 2 amendments, and we'll pull back on ours to continue the discussion.
All right, are there any questions for my colleagues at this time? And as a reminder for the audience and those in attendance, the public hearing for this bill was held and closed at the December 6th council meeting, and the vote on this bill was held until tonight. So on my list, I have 6 amendments, but it sounds like maybe not all of those will be introduced. So Madam Secretary, please introduce amendment number 1.
Mr. Volke, are we going forward with Amendment 1? Did you want to clarify that?
Sure, I'm happy to. So we will move forward with Amendment 1, which is a technical amendment, and we will move forward with Amendment 2, which is a non-technical substantive amendment. All the other amendments will not be introduced this evening.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Amendment number 1. This technical amendment removes redundant language.
All right, Mr. Volke is the sponsor of the amendment. You may make a statement.
Thank you. Again, it's self-explanatory. The words "or scenic" were included twice in the bill. Need to delete one of the references to it. It's a technical amendment. Ask that my colleagues support.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Councilman Pruski.
Is there any discussion? I don't know, scenic sounds extra scenic, but I guess I'll go for it. All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 1.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 is adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 2.
Amendment number 2. This amendment clarifies that the 50 daily vehicle trips in the completion year of the improvement must be new trips.
All right, and Mr. Volke, again, the sponsor of the amendment, go ahead and make a statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. Again, relatively self-explanatory. It's just clarifying language to indicate that the trips being referred to are new trips, not existing trips.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second, Allison.
And I'm sorry, I didn't allow admin to respond.
No worries. I did, spoiler, this one we support.
And hopefully you were good with amendment number 1, since I didn't give you the opportunity to chime in on that scenic
We don't
amendment.
like redundancy either.
Okay, fantastic. Then we're all on the same page. All right, is there any discussion amongst my colleagues? No. All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 2.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 2 is adopted.
All right. Bill number 99-21 as amended will be heard on January 3rd, 2022. All right. At this time, Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 100-21.
Bill number 121, an ordinance concerning pensions, reemployment, reduction of benefits.
This is another admin bill. Mr. Barron.
Good evening again, Madam Chair, members of the council. Joining me from personnel is Ms. Badowski and Ms. Lovett. From law, Ms. Blair Klausmeyer. This was discussed at the work session. To remind the council, Bill 100-21 is designed to fix I guess you could call them unintended consequences from the charter amendment that removed the 1,500-hour cap as it relates to county contractual employment. Reemployment rules for retirees are laid out in the code and are explained to the employees at the time they complete their retirement paperwork. Retirees who return to work with the county are subject to an earnings offset depending on what type of position they are rehired into. I'm going to turn it over a little bit to Ms. Badowski because I don't know if I can explain this in a coherent way. So I will let the experts handle it.
Go ahead.
Ann Badowski, Personnel Officer. As Mr. Barron said, this is an intention to fix what was inadvertently deleted with the Charter Amendment back in 2020. That was really meant to help our Rec and Parks Department with their child care directors who were having a hard time filling full-time 12-month positions with 1,500-hour contractual employees. And so by removing that 1,500-hour wording, which is only by reference in the pension code, it created a conflict for our retirees who are subject to an earnings restriction. So I'm happy to take questions.
All right, Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Badowski, I'm assuming that you've had an opportunity to review the letter sent yesterday from the Anne Arundel County Pension Oversight Commission.
Yes, Ann Badowski, Personnel Officer. Yes,
okay.
I have.
Well, I guess the easiest way to say this is, what do you make of it? I mean, I'm not quite sure. I was a little surprised to get it because clearly they have strong opposition to this bill. To me, this bill, before seeing that, thought it was kind of a no-brainer. After having seen it, I'm now questioning what's going on here. So I didn't know if you could help us get any insight into what's going on.
Sure. I'm not sure of their full concerns. I've read through them, and I don't necessarily want to go tit for tat all the way through them. But this was to be somewhat simple. Earning restrictions are very normal with pension systems for retirees who return to their same employer. So having one here in the county, which is what we've had, is very normal and is what other jurisdictions in our surrounding areas do have. They vary in what those restrictions are, whether they're from your first hour in reemployment or your 1,500 and first hour, as we had. Additionally, administratively, there is no burden to us because we've had 1,500-hour temp seasonal positions in the county. We have always maintained a report of knowing when those employees, regardless of their retirement status, it's whether they're retiree or not, whether they're approaching those 1,500 hours because they are contractually capped to do that. So I'm not sure the disconnect in it. On its surface, I thought the bill was pretty simple.
Thank you.
Ms. Lacey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sarah Lacey, District 1. Sometimes I oversimplify things in my own mind and then trip myself up. You may have already answered this question, but my mind is thinking, why didn't we bring this up after the charter amendment passed? And it's been almost a year, so I thought, okay, maybe people have worked 1,500 hours and somebody's finding out this is a problem, but I'm not sure if that's the case.
We actually did initiate conversations with the Office of Law shortly after the new year began because we anticipated that there could be problems. To be truthful, we don't have any rehired retirees who have crossed the 1,500-hour mark because they know that has always been their cap. But because it's not clear and it's not in the code now, which is why we decided it was important to put it back in there for clarity.
So far it hasn't actually cost the county any additional money or any additional strife or anything. It's just you see the conflict coming up and it's time to clarify.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Hare, District 7. I think this is a question for Madam Auditor. In terms of the cost impact, is the rationale for the fact that there's quote unquote no estimated fiscal impact just because the situation has not yet arisen and so there hasn't been that situation like Councilwoman Lacey was just asking about? Because it does seem to me that if there were a situation where somebody went over the 1,500 hours, there certainly could be a cost impact.
Michelle Belair, County Auditor. The impact would come by the situation occurring in the future, so it hasn't happened yet.
Okay, so it is, but okay, I just want to make sure that's what you were saying. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Matt. Oh, sorry.
Ms. Schuett, did you want to chime in? Or? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Volke.
You can have it, Ms. Schuett, if you want. So, Ms. Badowski, one sort of last cleanup question I have. The Pension Oversight Commission obviously is tasked with overseeing the pension system to ensure it's solvent. We just got their annual report. I reviewed that. They noted some things in there. Without this, in your opinion, does this make the pension more or less solvent? Sort of, does this, I suppose the question is, the idea with the reduction of pension benefits for people who are reemployed, the idea, I think, is to ensure that the pension system is solvent by not paying out people contractually and in addition getting their full pension. So I guess that's where I'm a little confused about the guidance that we've gotten. And I think we'll hear more about that in a few minutes, but I'm just trying to understand that piece of it.
Ann Badowski, Personnel Officer. There's an impact for the retiree who assumes it because, the intention of retirement is to stop working, right? And you start collecting that monthly benefit. To have someone come back to the same employer and work more than 1,500 hours, there is $1 for every $2 reduction. While that drain is not on the pension system itself, except that they are now just doing their monthly withdrawal. As an active employee, contractually, they're not also paying into it, right? So, and a 1,500-hour position is virtually a 70-75% position, and so they would theoretically be being twice by the county.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 100-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
Madam Chair, I believe Ms. Schuett was waiting patiently.
Oh, my goodness.
Ms. Schuett, you want to come up and turn your mic? Okay, then. Okay. No, the only reason I say that is because when your red light is on, Madam Chair can...
Ms. Schuett.
Whatever. Okay, so back in the day when I was with the county, which is now, I don't know, less than 22 years, but it's been a long time, there was a lot of discussion about allowing an employee who retired to go to a different, to come back and not lose the pension in order to do that. And that was because back then, and I imagine still, we lose some of the
people who are most experienced in things and have a history of what has happened, and so we lose that experience to Howard County or Baltimore County, doesn't matter, because they don't want to come back and lose their retirement. And by the way, I retired 11 years ago, and my goal was not to quit working. I'm still sitting here. But, I mean, has the county discussed that, the need to sometimes keep experienced employees and not taking away their pension?
Ann Badowski, Personnel Officer. We've had those discussions. Howard County does also have its own reemployment restrictions for its retirees. You know, there is benefit in having those more experienced people to stay with us, whether longer, maybe prior to retirement, and to bring them back. And this would just simply say that they can come back and work for 1,500 hours prior to any reduction. So they do not get a reduction if they are hired in a 1,500-hour temp seasonal position. There is no reduction in their benefit until after that.
Go ahead, Ms. Hewitt.
Thank you. So if I have it right, someone comes back, and for the first 1,500 hours that they work, they continue to get their pension. And then if they work more than that during that year, the pension stops.
No, the pension does not stop. It is a $1 for every $2 earned reduction in their pension.
Yeah, okay.
But so they
don't get the same amount as they did before.
That is correct.
And so when they go into the next year, the same thing happens.
It starts all over again. The 1,500 hours runs on the 1,500 hours is a calendar year.
Right.
Right. So
the next year, the same thing happens.
They would work for 1,500 hours without a monthly reduction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hewitt. Those questions were actually very helpful. I appreciate you asking them. So we will now reopen the public hearing on Bill number 100-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair. We did not receive any submissions through the online testimony tool.
We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. And state your name and address for the record, please.
There you go. Good evening. Mike Shire, the Pension Oversight Commission Chair. I don't have anything additional to add. I'm just here in case there's any questions. Obviously, you all have the letter. It's okay if you don't have any questions.
Is your question for Mr. Shire?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you can go first, Madam Chair.
Nope.
I ask a lot of questions. I guess, Mr. Shire, same questions that I was asking Ms. Badowski. I'm not quite clear because I understand your role in the Pension Oversight Commission as being to ensure the solvency of the pension fund for all Anne Arundel County employees. I recognize the Pension Commission sort of looked at this and said, we oppose this. We don't think there's any justification for it. I don't know if there's anything you can add, because I was a little surprised to get your letter, and when I read it, I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. So if you can add anything beyond that in terms of context or discussions or what the commissioners thought based on what Ms. Badowski has said, it would be helpful for me.
I guess I could add just from our discussions, yes, our responsibility is to ensure the solvency of the pension system, but we take a broader view as to the health of the county and the employment system as well. Our goal is not to stymie the county's ability to hire effectively and retain effectively, and so that factors into our analysis as well. So we take more of a holistic approach versus, just how much money can we make for the pension system itself. As was stated, the fiscal note didn't have any impact on the county's finances according to what was given. And my understanding, or the Pension Oversight Commission's understanding, is that the pension system is calculated based upon the assumption that there's not going to be this repayment, or rather the reduction in benefit. So it's already kind of set that this is how much is going to be paid out. I guess if the fiscal note was inaccurate in some way and there will be future savings, that's not really necessarily calculated into the pension system's the contribution rates that the county and the employees make anyway, so you're kind of at a net zero when it comes down to it.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. I know that you can't speak on behalf of the Commission, but after hearing the testimony from the Office of Personnel, has your understanding of the bill shifted in any way, or do you understand it to be exactly the way it was discussed
among commission members?
I'm not really. I don't want to modify what the commission has discussed. You have the letter, and our understanding is what it is. We did have discussions with the administration and corresponded about the bill, and included that those discussions were presented to the commission and were part of our discussion that helped us formulate our letter.
Okay, thank you. All right. I think that's all of the questions that we have for you, Mr. Shire. And I'm embarrassed that I didn't recognize you at first, but it's been a long time. You have a new haircut, a mask, and it's been a couple years. So,
thank you. I'm getting much older. I appreciate you noticing that as well.
All right. If there's anyone else who wishes to speak, you may come up to the table at this time. State your name and address for the record.
Everybody have a happy holiday.
Same to you. All right, seeing no movement, the public hearing on bill number 100-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the bill, read the title of bill number 100-21.
Bill number 100-21, an ordinance concerning pensions, reemployment, reduction of benefits.
Mr. Volke.
I think Ms. Hare was in front of me.
Go ahead, Ms. Hare.
Thank you very much. Jessica Hare, District 7. I want to follow on along the line of questioning that Madam Legislative Counsel was asking beforehand. So just so I understand it, the 1,500 hours a year, that's, 30 hours a week or so for the duration of the year. And if somebody worked 30 hours a week for the whole year, they could still get their maximum pension benefits. But if they work 35 hours a week and in November hit 1,500 hours, if they continue to work for the rest of November and December, it's just for those periods, just that little bit of November and December, that they would see a reduction in pension benefits?
Ann Badowski, Personnel Officer, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so for the entire January through November that they were working even at a faster pace than 1,500 hours, they would still receive their full pension benefits?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Badowski, two questions to follow up on Mr. Shire's testimony. Have you noticed that there have been any issues with the county workforce in your ability to hire and retain employees because of this pension reduction component?
Ann Badowski, Personnel Officer. I've not seen direct issues with that. I will say that allowing us to have 1,500-hour employees and bring back retirees to bring back that expertise and knowledge is helpful. I don't think that we've had problems with that. I think that it is a benefit to us to be able to keep that knowledge base with us.
Okay.
Is that a new question, Ms. Hare? Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Jessica Hare, District 7. Similar line of questioning. Do you have a number of instances, maybe not this year, but maybe over the past years, where you are having employees who are hitting 1,500 hours, in October, November, long before that December end date?
In my experience here in the county for these 6 years, I've had one in person who hit that number in October, and once notified that they were at that number, actually stopped working for the rest of the calendar year.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hewitt.
Oh, I see I left this on. I'm all ready. So, Linda Shewitt, Legislative Counsel. So when you last spoke, you said that Howard County also has a provision like ours where your pension is reduced.
Yes, ma'am.
So doesn't that result in the fire chief, for example, going to Howard County so that he or she doesn't lose the entire pension, or at least the provision, as it would say, and then the Howard County person who's subject to the same provision would come to Anne Arundel County, and neither person loses any part of their pension if they do it that way?
It's possible for them to do that, yes.
Pardon me?
It is possible for them to do that. They could retire from here and go work for another employer versus coming back in a contractual position.
Thank you.
Mr. Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. Madam Auditor, your blue letter has come up a few times. I'm just curious, do you have anything you want to respond with in terms of potential future savings if this ordinance is enacted vis-a-vis if it's not, if we just sort of sit where we are? I know that you had indicated there was no fiscal impact, and that was something that was addressed in the Pension Commission's letter. So I didn't know if you had anything to add on that.
Michelle Belair, County Auditor. I've not seen the Pension Commission's letter, so I'll be looking that up. But when we look at things that are kind of correcting something in the code. The idea was if this bill passes, the current practice would continue, which would then not have an impact. So yes, if it doesn't pass and it reverts, whether intentionally or unintentionally, I guess, to the way that it is, which is different than how it has been in the past, there would be an impact. I mean, I guess that could vary, right? It would, if it impacted recruiting, that could get complicated, but directly with the pension, it would have that impact based on the new rules.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Lacey. Thank you, Madam Chair. To that point, I think it's probably helpful if we remember again why the charter amendment was passed, where that came from, what the Department of Recreation and Parks, because I think if you look at the lack of a fiscal impact from essentially trying to maintain the status quo from before the charter amendment, which was what was intended, then of course it's not expected to be any. But if this council wanted to intentionally give county retirees who come back in contractual capacities additional benefits that would affect the pension fund, we would do that with a big study. There would probably be even outside experts that would get consulted to figure out the impact on our pension funds. So as I read this, really the only sensible choice is to actually adopt this to ensure we don't have a problem. And then if in the future the council wants to, or I should say the county executive, it would start there, wanted to look at increasing benefits for county retirees coming back and filling those contractual positions, maybe there's a larger demand or something after the pandemic, who knows, then we would study the issue that very carefully then to see what the cost impact was.
If you'd like to respond, Ms. Wadowski.
I agree that we would need an outside consultant to do that.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So in the scenario that Ms. Schuett gave an example for, that has not yet happened to date.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Schuett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Legislative Council, I had been focusing very much on the first part where the employee who was a classified employee then is retained or hired as an exempt employee. I was looking at that. But I'm concerned now that paragraph 2, the two I's.
Mm-hmm.
I was hired before as an exempt employee, and I've come back as an exempt employee. Does this change my pension? Because if it does, I recuse myself. I didn't realize that this potentially has any impact on me.
I see movement from the Office of Law.
What?
Ms. Blair Glassmeyer.
You said what?
I was just limiting my hobbling back and forth. So the way this worked before the charter amendment was there was always the offset of $1 for every $2 earned. So then there was a charter amendment that said it doesn't apply at all. The offset doesn't apply at all for somebody who comes back. And now what this says is it only applies at hour 1501 in these two circumstances, including being an exempt employee and being reemployed as an exempt employee. So to the extent that someone who comes back as an exempt employee and works over 1,500 hours in a calendar year, the offset would be applied at that point. Correct? I got that right?
You did. If I could just add one clarification part. It is only if you came back in a 1,500-hour contractual position.
Right.
It is only impactful if you came back in a 1,500-hour position, which is not the position you were in.
But I'm not arguing this one way or the other. I don't care what the relationship of this for me is. But it says the employee retired from the county as an exempt employee and then is reemployed as an exempt employee.
Under 802 A14, which is a contractual.
That's the contractual.
That's the
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. That used to be limited to 1,500 hours. Right.
Thank you for making sure that you're eligible to participate in this conversation. All right.
Okay.
I have completely lost track. Madam Secretary, have I asked you to read the bill? I thought maybe I hadn't. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 101-21.
I'm sorry. I'm going to read it because I don't think it'll hurt, to tell you the truth. I am not certain. Bill number 121, an ordinance concerning pensions, reemployment, reduction of benefits.
All right. And assuming and seeing no additional comments or questions from my colleagues, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 101-21.
Ms. Lacey.
With all regard to the Pension Oversight Commission and with thanks for their consideration, aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Nay.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Nay.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
5 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. Bill number 121 is passed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please read the title of Bill number 102-21.
Bill number 101-21, an ordinance concerning approval of private disposition of county-owned property located in Millersville, Maryland.
I'm so sorry. I got ahead of myself. This is why I'm not good with numbers. 101-21. Thank you for reading the correct bill.
I somehow heard you say Bill 101-21.
Mr. Barron, this is another admin bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joining me at the table from our school system is Mr. Shanknovich, and from the Office of Law, Ms. Niederer. We discussed this at the work session. It's a great bill. We are transferring land over to our school system. This property will become Old Mill Middle School. We hope you will pass the bill tonight.
Any questions from my colleagues? I suspect this might be a slam dunk. All right. We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 101-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair. We did not receive any online submissions.
We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. No one had signed up in advance. If there's anyone here who wishes to speak, please come up to the table, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no motion in the audience, the public hearing on Bill number 101-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 101-21.
Bill number 101-21, an ordinance concerning approval of private disposition of county-owned property located in Millersville, Maryland.
I see a light from Ms. Lacey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. I'm not personally familiar with this park. Is it going to remain open for the public to use for some period of time, or do you have a construction schedule already?
Alex Shekno, Chief Operating Officer. So we anticipate breaking ground in the spring. But I do want to point out that a remainder, a portion of the property that is currently used as active parkland will remain, and it's actually going to remain with the county. So we're not going to be on that piece of the property. We're going to have to cordon off the construction zone part of it. But then under the MOU that we have with the county government, specifically with Recreation and Parks, once the construction project is done, then all the fields, the gymnasium, et cetera, all those recommended will revert back to full use at the conclusion of the school day. So there's an exhibit attached there that shows the part of the property, and we co-designed it with Recreation and Parks to ensure that the community can still have beneficial use of as much of the recreational areas and the parking areas that go with that rec space as possible while we undertake our construction project. We again anticipate that we would break ground this spring and that construction work would conclude by August of 2024, and the property would safely reopen to the entire community.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you. Oh, turned off my mic. Allison Pickard, D2. I just have to speak because this is my district, and We are super excited to see the second phase of the Old Mill Complex Master Plan get underway. So I assume this will be a 7-0 vote. And thank you, Mr. Sheknovic, for wading through the previous bills to be here to answer questions that might not be coming. So thanks.
Seeing no additional questions, I'll just take the personal privilege of saying happy holidays, and I hope you enjoy your upcoming break. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on bill number 101-21.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Prusky.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Radvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill number 101-21 is passed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And now, please read the title of bill number 102-21.
Bill number 102-21, an ordinance concerning zoning requirements for conditional uses, adult independent dwelling unit setbacks. Check that out.
All right, Mr. Volkey, this is your bill. You may have the floor.
Another one. All right, Madam Chair, thank you, Nathan Volkey, District 3. This is a relatively simple bill. It just changes the setbacks for adult independent dwelling units. At the appropriate time after we have done the public hearing, I am going to ask my colleagues to hold this until our next meeting. I do need to put in an amendment, which we are working on. I've talked with staff about it, so this bill is not exactly ready for a vote tonight, so that's where this one sits.
All right, Mr. Barron, you are welcome to respond on behalf of the admin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got team land use here, Ms. Kelly Kenny from Law, Ms. Miller, Mr. Kai Ziegler from OPZ, and of course, Ms. Lori Rhodes. I think the sponsor has been in discussion with us, haven't seen the amendment. Don't think it's ready yet, which is why we're not talking about it today. Look forward to working collaboratively on it. Broadly speaking, administration is comfortable with this bill. Obviously want to see the details of what's coming forth in the amendment. So we're comfortable with holding the bill and working collaboratively to get it right.
All right. Any questions from my colleagues? All right. We will now open the public hearing on bill number 102-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any submissions.
We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. We had no one signed up in advance. If there's anyone who wishes to speak, you may come down now. Seeing no movement in the audience, the public hearing on bill number 102-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of bill number 102-21.
Bill number 102-21, an ordinance concerning zoning requirements for conditional uses, adult independent dwelling units setbacks.
And Mr. Volkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volkey, District 3. I would make a motion at this time to hold this bill 102-21 until the council's next meeting on January the 3rd, 2022.
Point of order, or Madam Chair, I guess I just want to make a suggestion. Are you sure you can get it done by January 3rd with the holidays? Why not take January 18th? That's all.
We could, Ms. Lacey, certainly. The only concern I have is this bill will expire. I think it's on the 18th of February, so that would really be kind of the last moment. So my one concern is if we don't have it done by the 3rd, it could be pushing tight against the deadline.
I certainly was not trying to kill the bill
earlier. I had thought about it, but yeah.
All right, Mr. Volkey has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Hare, second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll. Please call the roll on the motion to hold the vote on bill number 102-21 until January 3rd, 2022.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Prusky.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Radvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold the vote until January 3rd has been adopted.
Bill number 102-21 will be voted on January 3rd, 2022. Madam Secretary, please read the title of bill number 103-21.
Bill number 103-21, an ordinance concerning zoning, commercial districts, gunsmiths, and ammunition sales facilities.
This is Mr. Volke and Ms. Fiedler's bill. Whichever, I see Ms. Fiedler's light on. Ms. Fiedler, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So this bill came as almost a follow-up to a bill I had last year regarding indoor gun ranges. There is not a consistency in the code between indoor ranges and ranges in general and gunsmith and ammunition sales locations. So this just brings them more in line for where they are allowed. I do have an amendment at the appropriate time, but ask for my colleagues' support that amendment this evening.
Mr. Barron, would the admin like to respond?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Same team sticking with me, Mr. Kai Ziegler from Planning and Zoning, Ms. Miller as well, Ms. Kenny from Law, and of course Ms. Rhodes, our Deputy CAO for Land Use, to explain the difficult stuff to me. This bill, the administration, I think, understands what the sponsor is intending here. I don't think we have a problem with the amendment. Looking to see sort of what the impact of this bill would be practically countywide. We do understand that currently this could be done as a use for gun stores. You would create an opportunity for this type of business to be in these zoning districts, so we may see an increase in access to firearms in those zoning districts, and there is some pretty good scientific research that the closer you are to ammunition, the more likely there is to be violence. So this really becomes a policy decision for the council, but as sort of a corrective amendment, we would support the amendment moving forward.
All right, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 103-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any submissions of testimony.
We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. There was no one signed up in advance. I see no movement in the audience. The public hearing on Bill number 103-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 103-21.
Bill number 103-21, an ordinance concerning zoning, commercial districts, gunsmiths, and ammunition sales facilities.
And I understand there is one amendment. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 1.
Amendment number 1. This amendment prohibits gunsmiths and ammunition sales facilities in town center districts.
Ms. Fiedler, this is your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So this amendment came out of discussions from member of the council over the concern of town centers, which I certainly understand. C3 zoning as related to town centers, when you're looking at town centers and what is allowed and not allowed in town centers, it falls to the chart for C3. When you look at where we allow or the distance from residential zone properties or structures, when we talk about indoor gun ranges, outdoor gun ranges, and then you consider that most of the ranges also have a component of gunsmith ammunition sales, and then you think about a town center which has residential over top of the commercial, I agreed that was an area of concern. So this amendment prohibits or says except for gunsmith and ammunition sales in town centers. So they would be prohibited in town center scenarios. So.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Fiedler, second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Barron, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I stated earlier, the amendment makes the bill better.
Any additional comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing no lights, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 1.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Bill number 103-21, as amended, will be heard on January 3rd, 2022. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 104-21.
Bill number 104-21, an ordinance concerning zoning school bus facilities.
Ms. Fiedler, this is also your bill. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill came out of a concern or a challenge that one of my constituents faces in owning and operating a bus storage facility, but not having the underlying zoning to expand and needing to look elsewhere in the county. And for anyone else who is in the bus storage facility business that could find themselves in a similar predicament should they look to add a second location or expand, there's nothing in our code that really directs them where they can go and under what conditions they could locate. So this adds the use to the code for industrial, commercial, and small business. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Keeping the same team with me for the third bill in a row. I want to thank the sponsor for the discussion we've had on this. The administration, I think, laid out some concerns at the work session. We still have those concerns. Happy to answer any questions, but don't feel the need to rehash this. I believe the sponsor indicated she may be asking for a hold. So,
yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So I know we have a public hearing ahead of us, but at the appropriate time, I will be making a motion to hold this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fiedler. All right. We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 104-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair. We did not receive any submissions.
We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. I don't believe there was anyone signed up ahead of time. If there is anyone here who wishes to testify, please come on down. Seeing no one coming down, the public hearing on Bill number 104-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 104-21.
Bill number 104-21, an ordinance concerning zoning school bus facilities.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. I know that there was an amendment floated around. I do not wish to take any action on that amendment this evening, and I motion to hold this bill until our January 3rd meeting.
Ms. Fiedler has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to hold the vote until bill number, well, I guess also the public, no, we had the public hearing, even though there was no one actually testifying. Please call the roll on the motion to hold the vote on bill number 104-21 until January 3rd, 2022.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold the vote until January 3rd has been adopted.
Bill number 104-21 will be voted on January 3rd, 2022. All right, let's see. Looks like we're winding down to the last few items. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution number 62-21.
Resolution number 6221. Resolution proposing an amendment to the Charter of Anne Arundel County to add a requirement that the County Council confirm the County Executive's appointment of a Planning and Zoning Officer.
Mr. Volke, this is your resolution. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. So this resolution, the idea with it is that there are certain public-facing department heads who have a lot of interaction with the public. We have already, this council previously, dealt with the chief of police, the fire chief, and the county attorney. Certainly the chief of police and the fire chief are in the community all the time, which is a testament to both of them, but it's also the nature of their job. The county attorney probably is a little less in the public, but certainly that's someone who has public-facing interactions quite a bit. The Office of Planning and Zoning is similar in that same regard. They are a public-facing office. They have a lot of interaction with the public, and I think that at this point, we probably as a council should have some oversight on who the county executive is putting in. Not necessarily to really stop it. It's simply to make sure that the person who is going into that position is someone that this council feels comfortable is going to represent the county in a way, in a public-facing way, that's really putting our best foot forward. So with that, this adds the planning and zoning officer to the list of individuals or department heads who are subject to confirmation by the council. So with that, I'd ask for my colleagues' support.
All right, Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joining me is Ms. Blair Klausmeyer from the Office of Law. As this council will recall, this administration supported the charter amendments that the voters eventually approved as it relates to the county attorney, the chief of police, and the fire chief. There was a lot of discussion about why we selected those. Councilman Volke, one of the reasons that we settled on the Office of Law, if you recall, that the attorney is also your attorney. The county attorney, the Office of Law represents the county council. It makes sense for you all to have a say, and the administration supported that. From this point of view, I think the question would be, well, why stop at this one? And when we talked about this before, we specifically decided to leave others off. So I think if the council wanted to make this decision and include just one agency, I think the council should consider the kind of work that would entail, to do the review and public hearing and all of that, as if that was within your capability. But I would also add that the administration has supported transparency, has had no problem bringing our planning and zoning officer here every day, if you ask. So from my point of view, I guess, is why just single this one out, if I could ask a question back to you, and why not others? And it just seems like this is specifically targeted for a particular reason, and you didn't really articulate why. There's many public-facing department heads. Our Rec and Parks Director, for one.
Would you like to respond, Mr. Volke?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to add them all. I would put all of them in here. I don't know that that's the will of the council. I'm not even sure if this is the will of the council, but I certainly know that with respect to the Office of Planning and Zoning, that is one of the places that I get the most questions from constituents. Frankly, Department of Public Works is another one that probably is very public-facing, and I get a lot of questions there too. So if my colleagues want to add more department heads to this for confirmation by the council, I'm certainly open to that. If we need a little bit more time on this to prepare those amendments and put that forward, I would be open to that too. We also could just do additional bills or resolutions where we continue to look at who we're going to add here. But it's not targeted to any one person. It's targeted to the position. The idea that this is a very public-facing position. We get a lot of questions. This, frankly, is something that I think all of us were elected on, this concept of we need to slow down growth in this county. And the Office of Planning and Zoning is really where the rubber meets the road when it comes to those types of discussions.
Ms. Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Allison Pickard, D2. I had similar thoughts to Mr. Barron. As a council, with the argument that was made by my colleague about public-facing, I mean, I can think of the Director of Aging and Disability, the Director of Inspections and Permits, the Director of Public Works, like you said, the Director of Rec and Parks. All of these individuals I have personally been out in the public with as within their interactions. I think we also need to remember that the Director of the Office of Planning and Zoning is there to uphold the code, which we adopt, and also our other planning documents. Since I know we all like to play county executive when we can, including me, the council is not the county executive. We do not hold executive function. So I'm sure we've all had moments where we'd like to make hiring decisions and firing decisions at certain times over certain situations, but that's not what this is. So going back to our previous conversation about our Charter Review Commission, this is probably a really good topic for the Charter Review Commission to take up the appointment power of the council in their deliberations over the next year. I'm not there for this amendment at this time for the reasons I just stated.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. I do understand the argument over public facing and that all of our department heads to some capacity are public facing, so I do understand that. I actually have a pretty regular request from some members of a civic organization that I attend monthly meetings for, and that is to make the head of office and planning and zoning position be an elected position, which that's not something I want to tackle right now. But I think that this resolution is a step at having council members be the voice of their constituents in absence of electing an OPZ head. So I appreciate the discussion on this, and thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, we will now open the public hearing on resolution number 62-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any submissions.
We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. I believe no one had signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak? You may come on down. Seeing no movement in the audience, the public hearing on resolution number 62-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 62-21.
Resolution number 6221, resolution proposing an amendment to the Charter of Anne Arundel County to add a requirement that the County Council confirm the County Executive's appointment of a planning and zoning officer.
Any additional discussion or questions from my colleagues? No, I'm just going to take a moment of personal privilege to say I appreciate the current process. I feel like the Director of Planning and Zoning has to have some very special expertise and experience, and as a body, we do at times have to kind of jump into the areas of expertise that we don't necessarily have ourselves, and we're reliant on others to maybe guide us in terms of what kind of background, what kind of resume is going to be the strongest resume for a particular position. But I worry that there are a lot of I think if we can look back at the 2018 elections, or, there are a lot of political aspects to an officer of planning and zoning, and I feel like we could be setting up, a really ugly tug of war when we need a person who is, willing to step up and get the job done, and we can't, have a lingering vacancy in such an important role. So with that, I will be voting against this resolution. And seeing no other comments from my colleagues, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on number 62-21.
Ms. Lacey?
Nay.
Ms. Pickard?
Nay.
Mr. Volke?
Aye.
Mr. Pruski?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Hare?
Aye.
Ms. Radvian?
Nay.
4 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. Because charter amendment resolutions need 5 votes, this resolution has failed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So we are on to the other business. I would actually like to bring a very brief piece of business before my colleagues, and that would be we have work sessions scheduled January, February, March, April, and then we get into budget season. And I would like to continue having those virtual. And so I'd like to hear thoughts from my colleagues on continuing our work sessions, our monthly work sessions, in a virtual format. Ms. Pickard.
Madam Chair, I concur. I think virtual works for everybody, or works for me.
I agree.
Fantastic. Point of order, do we need to have a formal vote on this, or is informal discussion where we all say good to go? All right, cool. All right, any other?
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Pruski.
I apologize. This is a point of personal privilege. For those who don't know, Corporal Wild, who's standing over here, is going to be retiring. I've known Corporal Wild probably for many years, and he's served our county in various capacities, the FOP, other areas, but I just want to thank him for his service, and sir, thank you for everything you've done for our county. You deserve a round of applause, and thank you so much. Best wishes in your retirement.
I had no idea. Congratulations. That's very exciting. Ms. Pickard.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but with the number of bills held this evening, is it appropriate to discuss the time of our meeting for January 3rd? We may want to consider starting that meeting at 6 o'clock. We have a hefty agenda on January 3rd. But I don't know if we need to advertise that, or...
Are we in a position that we would be able to do that, Madam Secretary?
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry. It's just a matter of getting the notice out. I do advertise in the paper public hearings, and I do put the start time, so I would need to put 6 p.m. So I think that the council does need to agree on that bit, especially because I believe the rules say that under normal circumstances, you start at 7 p.m. So I'll leave it up to Madam Parliamentarian as to whether you need some kind of motion here, but I definitely think some kind of a vote is needed to confirm it.
Madam Secretary and Madam Chair, I believe that's what we did also last year when we moved our virtual regular public meetings to be held at 6 o'clock when they were virtual. We had a vote. Did you? We did.
All right. That said, is there a motion to be made here? I will make a motion to have our January 3rd, 2022 meeting begin at 6 p.m. Due to our heavy agenda on that date. Is there a second?
Allison Pickard, second.
Any discussion? Any additional discussion? All right, Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll on that motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Nay.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Nay.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
5 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. Madam Parliamentarian, does that mean the motion is passed? Okay. The motion to start the meeting at 6 o'clock in the evening on January 3rd, 2022 has been adopted.
All right. If there's no additional business for this evening, may I have a motion to adjourn our final meeting of 2021?
So moved. Allison Pickard.
Is there a second?
Councilman Pruski, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? The motion carries. The County Council is adjourned until January 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m.
I may do that too. Somebody has to, right? They can actually bring off the front.